So we're here to talk about an article written by Marko Kovačić and Drazen CEPIC. Marko is talking to us about his article, their article. It's a study about the rise of movements, political movements in Croatia, which are challenging classical participatory, classical representative democracy in Croatia. In which way do you see these movements emerging as a challenge to the conventional nature of political engagement in Croatia?
Okay, so first of all, good morning to everyone here. So basically, Drazen and I, we have written an article that debates about the current very popular term crisis of democracy and how actually the crisis of democracy, together with some other factors, influence actually the emergence of the new participatory political parties. Those political parties, they have some specificities that do not have conventional political parties, such as proactivity, adaptability, and mobilization potential. And they use contemporary ICT technology. They are just emerge from civil society, and all of that is quite different from the situation in party politics that we have in Croatia right now.
So are these groups, I mean, you're tracing them through local elections and their emergence in a number of cities in Croatia. Do you consider them to be a reflection of kind of the rise of post-materialist values in Croatian society, or to what phenomena do you attribute first the rise of them, I guess, as civil movements or civil society movements, and then their translation into political groupings?
Okay, so we identify several factors that were relevant for the success of the local elections in May 2013. First of all, of course, is the umbrella term of crisis of democracy, and actually the decrease of mistrust for the conventional political parties. However, this is not enough. Our research has demonstrated that increasing public support towards civil society organizations, in addition to disappointments of civil society organizations with the possibility to cooperate with the authorities, and some internal characteristics of civil society organizations were enough to motivate civil society to penetrate into a polity and to some extent form political parties and political movements that had the success at the May elections.
Do you consider these groups, because most of them were over urbanization issues, urban planning, you mentioned the movement against the overdevelopment of Srđan and Dubrovnik, also in Zagreb, similar groups, so they're kind of a critical urbanistic kind of platform. Would you consider these groups having some kind of coherent ideological vision which would link them up to broader European political movements, or do they remain very localized and very particularistic in their agenda, and then once, let's say, their demands are fulfilled, they lose their raison d'être?
Well, I don't think that unanimous answer is possible, because to some extent it is true that they are quite local and that they tackle local issues. They are pro-decentralizations. I don't know if you know, but Croatia is a very centralized country, and basically what they do is they try to improve the lives of the local community. However, there are traces and there are evidences that there are lots of parties on the European level that actually propose and proponent most of those ideas as well. So basically, I would say that I wouldn't define them throughout their values, but I would define that throughout the way that they communicate with groups of people that they want to approach. In other words, what I would like to emphasize is that they just use the contemporary technologies and contemporary ways of communication that is appropriate for young people and for the people who are not very burdened by the classical ideological cleavages that exist in Croatia.
The kind of European experience of the Pirate Party in recent years has been an experiment which has, I guess, mostly been a failure in the sense of a group which had also this grassroots technique, used IT, used kind of what you said, kind of post-ideological in many ways. But because of their incoherence and also some of the challenges of technology actually in creating some kind of coherent platform, they have actually mostly collapsed. So how do you see the trajectory of these groups which you're outlining in your article in Croatia?
Well, I would say that the biggest difference between those five parties that we were describing and the Pirate Party is because those five parties aren't anti-systemic. Pirate parties that emerged in Croatia as well as in Europe, they were basically against everything, against the system, and they wanted to change the complete system. Those parties that we have described, they do have some elements of this. However, I wouldn't say that the main reason of their existence is the change of the whole system.
In terms of, because also in Croatia it's been characterized by the rise of popularity of Orah, a Green Party or kind of leftish Green Party, which has come out of people from the Social Democrats. How do this party link or does not link to the movements you're looking at? I.e., to some degree is the question, to which degree do established political structures are able to accommodate the kind of the challenges coming from these civic movements, or is this crisis of democracy, which you were pointing to earlier, something which cannot be overcome by the structures of conventional kind of representative democracy?
Okay, I would definitely say that Orah is something that wasn't there when we did our research. So Orah was founded just several months ago, and it actually does have some kind of values that are quite similar to those parties on the local level. To respond to your question about possibility for the representative democracy, from my point of view and demonstrated in local elections, that some kind of opening of the political space is necessary because people just don't have a trust anymore in conventional political parties. And the evidence of Orah as being a sort of third way is something that we support that claim, because people are, as I said earlier, are not that interested in the difference between conservatives and progressives and the ideology. They just want they want parties that do something, and they want parties that understand people and that take care about their needs. So I would say that this is like the main connection between Orah and local political parties. However, I see Orah mainly as a national political party, and this is just a spin-off of some unrealized ideas of one of Croatian biggest parties, as the SDP.
So these movements, I guess, in many ways are as you said, I mean, they're kind of not ideological, but they want political actors to be more engaged with citizens' lives. But there is, I mean, Croatia is characterized by quite a strong political division between political party, which is conservative and nationalist, and political party, which is, let's say, social democratic, and that translates not just in terms of economic or social policy, but rather into also the interpretation of the past, and it creates quite a strong cleavage, at least when it comes to the public discourse. How do these groups fit into these cleavages, or do they, in a certain way, try to ignore them, leave them aside?
I think the second notion that you mentioned is correct. I would say that they try not to be as ideological as conventional political parties, and this is the main difference and differential specificum in a polity. Because in the campaign for local elections in 2013, they didn't use classical arguments that could be heard from the conservative party, namely Croatian Democratic Union, or leftist Social Democratic Party, which is SDP. They just try to perhaps introduce some new topics in a Croatian political space.
Very interesting. So I think this is part of a larger European trend in many ways, which is, at least when it comes to the crisis of representative democracy and challengers to it. So it's going to be interesting to keep watching, seeing what these movements emerge into over time. So, Marko, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and of course, a lot more detail in the article you've written together.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.